Womp womp womp. Psh. Tembo the Badass Elephant is an awesome name for an awesome game. I mean, what's not to like about an elephant who is essentially the Rambo of the elephant world? I mean, that's pretty much what's going on in this game. The premise is there are a secret military organization trying to take over the world, I guess, called Phantom, and the government doesn't know what to do about it and they can't handle it, so they call in Tembo. And that is pretty much it as far as story is concerned, and that's no real big deal. At its heart, this is a very straightforward, side-scrolling action game. The basic idea is to traverse various levels, killing enemies along the way and collecting peanuts along the way, amongst other things, until you reach the end of each section, at which point you will have to fight a boss battle. For quite a short game, there's a reasonable amount of enemy variation. You have your cannon fodder enemy types, who are pretty much just standing there so you can take them out. You have the slightly upgraded versions of them, who may have guns or knives or weapons and attack you in different ways, so you have to start thinking a little more tactically about how you approach them. And then you have your bigger enemies, like tanks and helicopters, that you need to take out. And then finally you have your bosses. The boss fights in this game I really actually enjoyed. It's been a while since I actually enjoyed a boss fight in a game, because a lot of them are atrocious. But Tembo the Badass Elephant's boss fights kind of go back to that retro style of boss fight, where you've got to find a pattern, find a weakness, and exploit it. And that is something I know how to do. And this game makes it straightforward, but still challenging. As far as Tembo himself is concerned, what can he do? You have a pretty straightforward set list of moves. You can charge, jump, slam, uppercut, and spray water to put out fires and solve puzzles. And there are a lot of puzzles throughout these levels. For the most part, it tries to encourage a lot of momentum and progression in your movement through levels. So you'll be encouraged to charge fast through levels and jump, and keep a flowing motion through a level, which is pretty challenging if you don't really know what's coming up, so it encourages multiple playthroughs, I think. But there are certain points in levels where you can't just keep running, and you have to stop and solve puzzles. The puzzles are relatively straightforward in this, but they're quite satisfying to solve, as is the combat and general traversal. Smashing through objects, smashing through walls, smashing through enemies is very, very satisfying. And the general visual aesthetic of this game is great. It's a great cartoony style, and the explosions and destruction are awesome, and they make you feel like a pretty well-armoured badass elephant, which I think is probably the point. And you are encouraged, well, perhaps not encouraged, more kind of forced to kill as many enemies as you possibly can in each level, instead of just skipping a bunch, because you need a certain number of enemies dead to progress to the next level. Which in some cases meant, for me personally, I couldn't automatically progress. I had to go back, do a level again, kill a few more enemies before I could get enough to progress. But that's not so bad, because this game does encourage replaying levels, and it does feel like it's all about playing a level again and again until you get the perfect run through. And the game is quite short in length. It takes only around 4 to 5 hours to complete, so those multiple playthroughs are there to really extend the life of the game. But overall, I really think the standout features of Tembo the Badass Elephant, other than his badass name, are the visuals. The cartoony look to the game is great, the sound is great, some of the level design is really good, and the game feels really good to play. Tembo the Badass Elephant is short, sweet, and super satisfying, and a game that I will definitely recommend.